everybody. This is Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. Yeah, you know me. And you're listening to my bestest buddy and Big Toe, Paulie Z, on the Paulie Z Show. Yeah!
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to the Paulie Z Show, episode number 24. And today, very, I can't stress it, very special guest. Not only a friend and a famous rock star, TV star, and personality, but a mentor and a guru for me, my personal Yoda, Dee Snider.
Hey, everybody. What's going on?
What's up, Dee?
Yeah.
For anyone who's watched Z-Rock knows that D is kind of like my Yoda in real life. He really is. Like, you've given me some sage advice on and off the show.
I just gave some sage advice before I went on air.
Yes, he did. Before we had the call, where we had the preliminary interview call.
Sage advice.
I felt, I gotta be honest, I was sitting here like with my hands crossed, and I felt like I was talking to my dad, and he was like lecturing me on something like, "Don't ever do that again, son." And I'm like, "Okay, sorry, Dad."
Well, all of a sudden, we're talking vagaries. I'm sorry, listening audience, but you just have to deal with it. But suddenly I realized why I got a similar response from Gene Simmons so many years ago.
Oh, should we tell him what happened? Is it okay?
Yeah, I'll tell him. I'll tell what happened.
You tell him. Go ahead.
Somehow, Paulie was trying to get a hold of me because I was delayed getting on the air today. I was late. And he somehow has my home personal line. And he didn't know that it was, as it turns out, my home personal line. It was his number he called trying to get a hold of me because he didn't know where I was. And so I was very upset when he called my home line. I was pissed off. And I told him, don't call my personal line for business. So, but now I just reflected on I called Gene Simmons, and Gene picks up the phone. I say, "Hey, Gene, it's Dee," and he goes, "How'd you get this number?" and I was like, "You gave me the number," and he was like, "It's so strange. I would give you this." It was like my exact conversation with Paulie.
But that's my point. How did I get that number? It's in my phone.
I don't know. I must have inadvertently given you, just like Gene gave me. For some reason, had a brain fart and gave me his home line instead of his business line.
You see?
And I didn't realize when I called him that I was calling the wrong number. So anyway, I see how these things could get confused and happen. So here we are. And Yoda has so much more to say. What's going on?
Okay. Well, what is the lesson that we've learned here, Dee? See, do unto others. You see, you took out your...
No, you know what? Give people the benefit of the doubt.
That's right.
Give people the benefit of the doubt.
That's right.
You know, I actually, because I've been telling this story about Gene and the famous, "Hey, Dee, give me a call sometime." And I call him, and he says, "How'd you get?" Before I even, "Hey, it's Dee. How'd you get this number?" And I've told that story, and people crack up. And finally, I got to confront Gene with that on a radio show, and he was kind of hurt. And he said, "Well, you know, somebody calls up and says they're Dee Snider. Why would I assume that they were really you for the first," like he said,
right.
I was kind of, because I was like, "Hey, geez, Dee," and he was like, and the first time I'm calling him, he's like, he wasn't sure, you know. I guess he didn't. I don't know what. Hey, man, what else going on? How's things going?
Well, good. This is good. Well, you know, Z-Rock season 2 is coming out on DVD next month.
That's great, man. It's a great show. You know, it's a shame it wasn't picked up for another season, but people in the know, and some people come up to me and say, "Hey, saw you on Z-Rock." And people loved that show. It was great.
Thank you. Well, listen, it's not dead yet. I mean, it's an uphill battle, but we are still shopping it. And we found out that it got picked up. Season 1 and 2 got picked up in other territories. I believe Canada, Latin America, Israel, and they're working on other parts of the world. So who knows? Maybe we'll be Canadian superstars, or we'll go back over to my my hometown, my home country, Israel, or Latin America, because I'm half Colombian. And then we'll come.
You remember that famous line, "Sex forms a hit in Japan." That's from Spinal Tap. If they're not loving you here, go there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you're a god, as long as you're a god.
That's it. I don't care anymore. I mean, look, it worked for Cheap Trick, right? So.
Well, since this is radio, I'll share a story with you because I know this is what it's all about on talk radio. And I And just sort of going with this theme here, I was on a promotional tour for the Stay Hungry album, and Twisted Sister broke out in England with the You Can't Stop Rock and Roll record. It was a huge record, top 20 radio hits, and we were huge stars. Stay Hungry, not so much. But everywhere else in the world, it was our biggest record ever. So I'm on a promotional tour, and every country I go to, I'm like, it's presidential suites, it's the best of everything. And the last date of my promotional tour is, and I have a couple days off, is England. I get to England, and every interview is like, so, with the failure of Stay Hungry, how's it feel to know law? I'm like, what? They're the most depressing interviews. I'm in the lousiest bed and breakfast, crappy English hotel, horrible, and I've got a rainy, cold weekend off in England, and nobody cares. I call my manager, and I just left Sweden, where I was deified, and I said, they need me to do anything in Sweden? And they're like, oh, yeah, matter of fact, they do. Back on a plane, go to Sweden, back to my presidential suite, and I was a god again. So wherever Z-Rock's big, go there.
Well, what do you think about, there's some people that say it's a bad move to try to make it outside of the U.S. and then come back to the U.S. That's almost suicide. What do you, I mean? And then I've heard other people say that's crazy. That a lot of bands do that too. So what do you think?
Okay, well, let me say, let's ask Jimi Hendrix, the Stray Cats, Joan Jett, Twisted Sister. I mean, the list is endless. Some of the biggest bands in the world broke outside the U.S. and came back. So they're a-holes.
All right, well then that's good to know, because it's something I felt, especially the type of music we do. I think we'd be more, better received overseas, and then to build up that clout and then come back, because obviously the kind of rock we do is not in vogue, and I don't know if it'll be in fashion anytime soon, hopefully, but it hasn't been for a while. And what are we going to do? It's just like a constant uphill battle, where there are people across the world that probably they would kill for that kind of stuff.
I'm telling you, man, their money's just as green or orange or red, whatever color their money is. As long as it can be spent and you can buy stuff with it, it is
yeah.
awesome.
If I could buy a house, I'll be happy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's always, there's been so many stars. I'm trying to think of the name of one girl. She's out of Brooklyn, actually. Huge star, pop, like a Celine Dion. Mm-hmm. And she's nothing in the United States. And her name escapes me, but that's because she's nothing in the United States.
Right. Well, there you go.
So, but the fact is, it's, I mean, you want to go where you're appreciated. And it kind of sucks. I mean, I'm personally dealing with this right now, Paulie, because in America, I'm more of a I am a rock star, but my right now my value as a celebrity, not so much as a rocker. And when I go overseas, and I can't walk anywhere in this country without being recognized, everywhere I go, Dee, 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 and it's great. I go to Europe, nobody notices me on the streets other than being some big, weird, freaky old guy. And but if a metal fan sees me, they will start shaking and crying, dude. They are so in awe. And Twisted Sister, as a draw in Europe, we're the headliners at the biggest festivals. And I just came back from Sweden. I go, how ludicrous that I've got to fly for 6-7 hours to be truly appreciated for my music, and to sit in front of 10,000 people singing every word to every song from every record. And back home, we're lucky if we put 1,500 seats. I'm being painfully honest. 1,500 people into a venue in the United States who really and all they want to hear is a couple of songs for the most part.
Right.
So you know what? You got to go where people appreciate you, because we put too much into what we do to not have it appreciated. It hurts to work so hard on something and to care so much about something and have people not give a shit.
Well, for us, what's hard is you guys at least have that opportunity to go over there. It's like for us, we don't even know how to get our stuff there, like how to the money to go or to try to get the press. And it's funny, I had this conversation with Dave Navarro also, and he asked me, he said, do you think Z-Rock was a blessing or a curse? And I'm like, well, for us, it was a blessing because, we were up and coming. It's not like we had anything to lose. And I said, why do you ask? And he said, well, he kind of said the same thing you said. He's like, well, I've been doing all these shows and now people know me as a celebrity, a personality, more so than a musician. And it's true. I have friends that know Dave. Everybody knows who Dave Navarro is. But if you say, well, what band is he from? You know what I mean? Like, how many people would know? Probably 9 out of 10 people might not know that he's in Jane's Addiction, but they know who he is.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He's become a personality, and that's a great thing. I mean, there's something to be said for that as well. As long as you can make a living doing it, you don't want to be like the Unabomber. He's a personality. Everybody knows him.
Yeah.
Great look.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. In your guys' situation, you want to, and plus, you know what? The fact is, today things have changed so much, and it's going to sort of roll to what I'm doing now, which is we're filming a reality show, in the midst of filming a reality show for A&E, which will be airing later this year, called Growing Up Twisted, tentative title, Growing Up Twisted. And why we're doing it, because we're trying to launch our kids' careers, and in this day and age, it's the rules have changed. Now you need a platform like a reality show, to get the message out there about what you really do. I mean, the reality show isn't the money. The money is people becoming aware that, oh, you do movies, or you do television, or you do records, and then they start to tune into what you do in the real world.
Right. Well, that, for us, it was weird because we just assumed that if we have a show, now all of a sudden our record sales are going to go through the roof. And we were really shocked when one didn't really, affect the other as much as we thought it would. I mean, we, definitely started drawing more people and selling more albums. But, we figured, okay, if 1 million plus people see us a week, if you get even 1% of that, we'd be happy. And it's like, they don't realize it. Like, I mean, I think for you, it's different because you came from being a rock star first. Ozzy, Brett.
It's not necessarily different, Paulie. You're right about that. People, they don't necessarily. It's not a slam dunk that they're going to go and buy whatever you're doing. It's not a guarantee.
Right.
You hope for that, but it's not a guarantee.
Well, we learned that the hard way. I mean, I wonder if if you guys put out a new record right now, do you think, what percentage of the people watching you on TV is going to buy that record? You know what I mean?
And that's the thing. I mean, JJ said, like I said, everywhere I go, I'm so recognized and I'm so known. And sometimes JJ turns to me one day and says, "Where's all these people that are constantly we're like having some trouble selling tickets to a show?" He's like, "Where are all these people that are like, do?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's bizarre. I don't know how that translates and what that translates to." So, and as a matter of fact, on this week, it's great this way. Rolling conversations bring you to the things you want to talk to, as opposed to sitting there like Gene Simmons going, "So this week on KissOnline.com." So we're actually filming an episode of Growing Up Twisted in Atlantic City.
Okay.
I'm doing a show called I Wanna Rock Live this Saturday night. It's a new concept that I'm developing. It's I Wanna Rock Live, megastars. Megastars, nothing but hits. And my concept is, why make people sit through an hour of bullshit to hear the 3 songs they came for?
Right.
So it's me, and it's right now it's me, Lita Ford, Jeff Keith from Tesla, and Mark Slaughter from Slaughter. And we'll be performing our biggest songs at the Atlantic City Hilton this Saturday night. And, and like I said, and people love it because from beginning to end, and plus there's some surprise duets, and there's a big finale where everybody comes out on stage. So it's great, but from beginning to end, it's like the best songs. We've got a great backing band called Rock Daddy, which, remember Jimmy Crespo played with Aerosmith for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy Crespo's band that he's got now, so it's a great band. But this Saturday night, I'm going to be singing a new song. And it really sort of doesn't fit with the format, but Jesse wrote this great song called Rock and Roll Ain't Dead that he wasn't sure was right for him. And I said, well, it's damn right for me. And I took it, and so I'm singing it, and we're going to be, of course, it's going to be on the show. So you're going to have Dee Snider, 25 years later, with on the TV show, and of course we're going to, people are going to be able to go online and buy it, download it, and blah blah blah.
Right.
But you're right. How many people are going to do that.
Right. Well, right. That's the question. Well, here I got an idea to boost your sales. What if Paulie Z's on the show? Singing, I could sing one of my greatest hits. You know, I could do 2 or 3 of my hits.
That's an interesting thought. Here's another thought. You remember Caddyshack when Bill Murray is talking to Chevy Chase and says, "Oh, you got a pool?" Yeah, and he goes, "We got a pool and a pond. The pond's good for you. We got."
Wait,
we got a stage in a parking lot.
Hold on a second. Can I at least serve peanuts or something? Could I be at the concession stand? Dee, what are you doing to me?
If you keep from getting thrown out by security, you can hang out in the lobby.
I thought it was family. What happened? I have your home number and everything.
I got too much family on this show. I mean, I think Suzette was telling you. Jesse's going to wind up on stage. Cheyenne, I say may because she's 13 years old, and this is a huge step for her as a young singer. Lita Ford asked her to sing Cherry Bomb with her. And she said yes. So we're like kind of stunned. And she's going to get up on stage, you know, and it's like a 1,500-seat theater, and she's never really performed out before. So I'm hoping she goes through with it.
Yeah, but Cheyenne's got a lot of personality. I remember when we met at the Nokia when we played with you guys, and she's
you guys hit it. She loved you. You guys hit it off.
Wait! I think Cheyenne gave me a home number.
Oh, that was what the hell? What did I tell her about giving strange guys your phone number? I
gave her candy. You know, I had like M&Ms or something. Maybe that's how I got it. I don't know. But no, she's so cool. I remember she was chasing me around. We were playing like hide and go seek the whole time, and I almost felt like asking you guys for babysitting money because I felt like, wait, what am I doing here? I should be talking to chicks.
I know. You know what, dude? That's how you endeared yourself to my wife, though. So
and
I guess to me as well. Be nice to someone's kids, and you're a direct link to them.
Well, believe it or not, how do you think we got? I mean, by doing, how do you think we got the TV show? And a lot of the opportunities we got was because of the Z Brothers. You know, all the kids parties we've done have been for because the kind of people that can afford us to pay like hundreds of dollars for guys to come in and play are people that are in, obviously high-powered positions in the industry. And we met all these, we'd do a party for some guy, and he was like the head of Sony and the head of BMG and the this of that. And
wait a minute. That was real?
Yeah. I told you that. You didn't know that?
Somewhere I did, but I guess along the way I started to think that it was just a shtick for the show.
You didn't know that? No.
You guys really played? Really played?
We still do.
You really did kids' parties?
We still do. Yeah. I did Michael J. Fox's daughter's party. We've done Robert De Niro's son's party 2 years in a row. We've done like celebrity parties. We do all the Hamptons.
You're good, you.
Yeah.
De Niro say you're good, you.
You have any little ones, Dee?
Not anymore. Oh. No. Cheyenne's 13. She's our youngest. So your babysitting days are over there.
Well, you never know. You and Suzette, you guys.
Oh, wait, you know what? Hey, I got a granddaughter now. What are you kidding?
How old?
Yeah.
That's right. Jesse's kid, right?
Yeah, Jessie had a baby girl. She just turned 1.
Oh.
So maybe by next year we'll be calling the Z Brothers, and we'll get to see you do your thing.
That's right. Okay. You see? And I'll give you a good price. Well, maybe we could barter. I'll do your kid's party, your granddaughter's party, and in exchange for let me do your hits night. Let me do a couple songs.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
In Z-Rock.
Yeah.
I mean, you show, you kind of like show the person, when the clown takes off his makeup and you show that he's not always smiling. Okay, it's not that drastic, but we show that you guys are jerking off to, nursing tapes and things like that,
well, that's real.
Behind the scenes.
That's real.
So now people know what you guys are like, kind of, or supposedly like, behind when you're not playing the kids' parties. Has it scared anybody away?
No, it's funny coming back. We took a couple of years off to concentrate on this, and now we just started coming back to it. Obviously until Z-Rock gets picked up, we got to make a living. So I've been doing guitar lessons and parties and stuff. And I got to be honest with you, some of the parents were a little. They told me, they said we were a little nervous because what we saw, we were like, we didn't, we weren't sure if we wanted to, let you back into our world. But they knew. See, the thing is, they know us enough from over those years. And I think on the show you can tell too. You can tell the kind of guys we are. So I think you put that other stuff under the rug, and we've had no problems. I mean, I don't know about strangers that never met us might get a weird impression, but I mean, I think it's cool. I think if anything, we get a better response because the dads love us because they think we're cool, and the moms like us because they think the same kind of thing. Like it's flirty and it's more. It's not silly. Like when you think of the Wiggles, the Wiggles, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're probably sick of them.
Unfortunately, my daughter was too old for the Wiggles when they arrived. Thank God.
Well, but you remember, what they're like. I mean, every parent I know says, the kids love it, but the parents can't take it. And the thing with us was that we were cool, we were rock, and the parents liked it. And I'll get you a copy of our kids CD for your granddaughter because I'm telling you, you'll love it. You'll understand what I'm talking about. It's much more Beatles than it is Wiggles. And if you heard it 50 or 60 times in a day, you're not going to go crazy. Whereas if I heard hot potato, I'm like, I want to shoot myself. Because it's too silly.
Okay, here's another question for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait a second. This is my show. Why are you asking me questions?
Well, I do radio, and
okay.
I'm an interviewer. So
look at this. He turned.
That, you're doing your own show here. People, do they get to hear all this stuff?
All right.
What happens if you start to break huge, like the Wiggles, with your kids thing? I mean, I'm sure the Wiggles had dreams of being in a not real rock band, but in a rockers in a traditional sense.
They were, yeah. In Australia, they were a rock band.
So how would that be okay for you? Would you be cool with that?
That's the big question. That's kind of why we never really pursued it, is because we were trying to avoid that. We wanted ZO2 to be big first and then do the kids thing. And honestly, now, I'll be honest with you, it's like, I think at this point, if it came, then it came. I mean, maybe that's the gods sending us a sign saying, look, this is what we wanted you to do. This is, God saying, this is what you're meant for. And I'll never stop rock and roll. I mean, that's what I feel like I was born to do. But, at this point, like you said, it's a different world. And it's like, I want to, I got to think ahead. I want to buy a house. I don't want to live in an apartment forever. I'm going to have a kid probably in a few years. I just got married. You met my wife. And,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's another thing
Lovely.
I didn't talk about for a long time. So it's like you change, you grow up, you get a little older, and you start thinking about like different things in life, and it doesn't mean
There's an old joke, Paulie. There's an old joke. I'll try to give you the short version.
Oh boy!
And as the flood came, and the priest stood on the steps, the high steps of the stairs, and they came with a 4-wheel drive vehicle and said, "Father, do you want to ride to safety?" He said, "No, God will provide for me." And the flood tides continued to rise, and the priest went to the second floor of the church, and the boat pulled up and said, "Father, jump in the boat, we'll take you to safety." He said, "No, my son, God will provide for me." The tides continued to rise. Priest got on the steeple. He's hanging up there. They flew with a helicopter and said, "Father, grab the rope, we'll take you to safety." He said, "No, son, God will provide for me." The priest drowned. Went up to heaven, sees God, and says, "God, why didn't you provide for me?" He said, "Schmuck, I sent a car, a boat, and a helicopter." So God's apparently a little Jewish too.
Right.
What
are you doing?
Exactly. So the point is, here you are. You're focusing on one direction, and maybe that's not ultimately what the grand plan is for you.
I don't know.
You got other opportunities.
People have told us all the time. It's like they keep saying, it's like, why? What is it about that path that rubs you the wrong way? It's something you guys do so well. It's something you're still a musician. You'd be making money. You'd be influencing people. You'd be doing everything exactly what you want, except not the same style of music. And I don't know how to answer the question. I guess it's just, I feel there's a passion in my stomach that wants to do what you did. You know what I mean? And that knows that I can, and that we can, the three of us. And but at this point, to answer your question, I think at this point I'm more open to different opportunities because I think now I'm looking at it differently. I think even just the industry, I think it's not the same as when you guys came out. I mean, think about it, Dee. If you came out now, Twisted Sister, I mean, it would be a totally different game. You couldn't do what you guys did then.
I do not envy, young musicians at all. I mean, we went to I follow a lot of young bands. I like new bands, and I get turned on to a lot of them for my kids. And so when the band comes to town, I'll take them down there. We'll get to meet the bands and stuff like that. And Cheyenne arrived with all of this band. The band was, I think it was Alessandra's the name of the band, and all of their CDs. And they said, "Why'd you buy these?" This is what the band said to her, and she said, "What?" And she goes, "Why don't you just download them?"
Right. Well.
And she looks at me and said, "My dad won't let me download music for free." And he goes, "Why? We do." And I said, "Seriously?" He goes, and the guy just says, "We just know we're not going to make money off of records." It's like you can't fight the tide. You can sit there and pretend that people aren't downloading records, and for free and aren't stealing the music. You just got to acknowledge it, accept it. This is the way it is, and realize that your money's going to come from your live shows, or in one case, a band called Escape the Fate. Bring Me the Horizon. They've got a clothing line called Drop Dead Clothing. It's merchandise. It's ancillary things. It's not going to be like it used to be in the day from selling records.
That's my point, and that's what I think. And we have to start looking at other opportunities. And to me now, the Z Brothers is just another opportunity. It's no different than you doing a reality show or Paul Stanley doing Phantom of the Opera. I mean, what's the difference?
But I can understand what you're saying, Paulie, because it's what you find most satisfying.
Right.
If you're a painter and your love is for classic painting, but you can make money doing poster art for movies. It's art. It's money, but it isn't where your true passion lies, and you'd like to make it do it with what you're really passionate about. So I get that.
But the truth is, we play it down on the show. But I gotta be honest with you, I actually love working with kids. I don't give a shit if people think that makes me uncool or not. I absolutely love it, and I have a passion for that too. But I think in my head, I always feel like I don't have to do that now. Like I could do that later. But like if I was going to be a rock star, I have to do it young. Does that make sense?
Well, first of all, if you didn't with passion for playing for kids, you wouldn't be working. It's got to come across. You can get jaded and stuff with that later on, but it's the genuineness that the kids they sense that.
Yeah.
If you're phony and you're fake and you don't really care about it, they'll know that. So yeah, of course, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I can see you playing it down on the show. Again, it's not exactly what people would call rock and roll.
Well, but I mean, the way we do it, it's pretty rock. It's just, again, it's just a different animal. And ideally, look, if the stars aligned and when it's our time hits at some point, what'll happen is we'll be able to do ZO2 at night and the Z Brothers a day, almost like the way They Might Be Giants do it. You know what I'm saying? They do both. They do, adult shows. They do kids shows. And then we'll have Z-Rock or another version of Z-Rock, and we'll be doing all that stuff, and my radio show will be, a big smash, and we'll have the clothing line, and we'll have our restaurant chain, and we'll have our action figures, and we'll have everything. So
this is it. Let me tell you. Yes, that's right. It'll be ZRockOnline.com.
Yes, yeah. And then you'll be called Dee, and then one day you'll call me, and you'll be like, "Hey, Paulie, it's Dee," and I'll be like, "How'd you get this number?"
So, and then you can start to say, then you have to get your rhythm down. Gene's always like, "This is Gene Simmons from Kiss."
With the space. This is Paulie Z from
Z-Rock.
And ZO2 and the Z Brothers and the Paulie Z Show and the Paulie clothing line and the Paulie, I'll have 12 different things to plug. Well, listen, speaking of kids, this is now watch how good I am at segues. This is why I have a radio show. Watch.
This is beautiful.
Speaking of children, Dee, aren't you working with March of Dimes, Biker for Babies? Ooh, look at that. That was smooth.
Woo! You're so slick, and then we flipped off the show.
Ow!
Yes. I'm the national spokesperson for the March of Dimes, Bikers for Babies for the last 2 years now. I travel around the country raising awareness of the needs babies have from premature birth and birth defects and things like that. And that's the March of Dimes focus. And having had 2 prematurely born kids myself, who were both healthy, but some people are not as lucky as we were. But I certainly, can feel for the families that have ongoing health issues with their children. So the March of Dimes and we're out there fighting a good fight.
Now, do you know, I don't know if you know this, but I will be at the March of Dimes event for anyone who's in the metropolitan area, New York City. You're having an event next Sunday, which is May 23rd, and It's going to be where exactly is it? It's out in Long Island, right?
Well, it starts and ends at Point Lookout. down by Long Beach, down on the shore there in Nassau County.
Okay.
Point Lookout State, it's a park, and that's where the ride. That's where the ride starts and ends.
That's Long Island, right? For people that don't know.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And for the bikers, pre-registration is at 9 o'clock, and not pre-registration. Registration starts at 9. The ride kicks off at 11. And for people who are not riders, you can, if you want to, come down to there's bands. There's, we got food. There's a car show. There's a bike show. It's a lot of fun. It's a nice hang. Like I said, it's down by the beach. And if you show up around 12 noon, you'll see all the bikes pulling in, and you have great food, and it's a really good time, and you can support the cause that way. Another way you can support the cause, people, if you're out there, I'm going to give you 2 more ways.
Text message, right?
You can go to DeeSnider.com and sponsor me for the ride. It's like Walk America, where riders get sponsors, and it makes their riding that much more valuable.
I have to interject for a second, Dee. I'm sorry.
Yes.
But for everyone who's listening to this podcast, you don't care how you get the money, right? Doesn't matter if it's through you or somebody else?
I don't care.
Okay, well, then I have to interject.
Yeah.
Okay, don't go to DeeSnider.com. You're going to go to bikersforbabies.org/Paulie Z, and you're going to sponsor me. Because
do that. I want you to do that because I got plenty of people.
That's right.
So, show your listeners, show your love through Paulie, because it'll impress the crap out of people, and they'll go, "Hey, look at that Paulie Z. He's somebody.
He's somebody, baby." I already registered. I donated $15 already. I have my little now. I set a goal for $308. Now let me tell you why. One, because it's a last minute thing, so I don't know how much I could raise in a week. But 2, my birthday is March 8th, so that's 308. And 3, I figured if I surpass that number, see, I go low because now if I surpass it, I look like a hero. And if I went high,
that little thing that fills in is like filled to the top. They're like, "Oh, look at that! It's exploding!
Exactly.
There's so much in it." Good plan.
You like that?
Plan.
Well, because what happens if I didn't? What if I set it for $1,000 and then I didn't make it, and then I look like a douchebag?
Oh yeah, or you put it up there, $100,000 or something like that, $10,000, and it just sits there, and the little thermometer has only just a little bit at the bottom. It looks really sad. Yeah. I know. I've made that mistake.
Right.
No, so that's a good plan, Paulie.
Thank you.
People should definitely go to bikersforbabies.org /Paulie Z.
Paulie Z, yeah, PAULIE and the letter Z, and you'll see my little thing there, and you can. I think you could donate they have like 25, 50, but then they also have other amounts. So you can put anything you want.
Oh yeah, you could do $1. You could do $5.
Yeah.
It's very simple. It's painless. And I'm going to just throw one more thing out, because some people, even that's not painless enough. If you want to just be a really cool dude or girl or whatever, is what you do. Just dial 20222 and text, put the word baby in there, and they'll take $5 on your phone bill. You know what they do? It's 20222. Type in the word baby, and you'll donate $5.
Right.
And the thing I like about the March of Dimes, and it's the first thing I checked out, there's a lot of organizations out there that a lot of the money never gets to the cause.
Well, how do you know? How do you actually check that? I'm curious.
Oh, you could go to it's called Charity Navigator. There's actually because we've done a thing with them. I'm actually trying to find it while I'm talking to you. I think it's called Charity Navigator, and they actually give you the lowdown on any charity.
Really?
So if you're thinking of donating, it'll tell you their expenses. Yeah, it's called Charity. You can go to charitynavigator.org. And they'll tell you the ratings, unbiased ratings on 1,000 nonprofit organizations, and they'll just tell you, like, if your money's really going to the cause. But the first thing I looked into was March of Dimes, and 75 cents on every dollar goes to the research, goes to helping the babies. And that's a lot, because every organization's got expenses and overhead and things like that. So there's some out there where 40 cents on the dollar are going to the actual cause. So anyway, that's, so your money's going to a great organization. I've been working with them I think it's 12 years now that I've been working with the March of Dimes in some capacity. So
That's awesome.
It's been fun.
Well, I hope people. Well, see, I wish you didn't tell them that website, because now they're going to go and they're going to look up the ZO2 Fund, which is a charity that we started a few years back, and they're going to see that 0 cents on the dollar goes to the actual fund, and it actually goes to all our clothes, My True Religion and our Ed Hardy's and stuff. So.
See, I think you just got to change the like your definition of what your research is for.
Aha.
If your organization it says to improve the life of the members of CO2, then you're not 100%.
That's
going
true.
To the research and to the cause.
That is true. 100% of the money goes to the ZO2 Fund, which is to improve our standard of living,
personal well-being and standard of living. Yes.
So please, after the March of Dimes event, please text to Paulie Z, and it'll take $1,000 off your phone bill. So, well, listen, I want to ask you a question. Well, I'm going to be there, by the way, because they, I found out about this, and now I have to be there because I actually, I have to represent my fans and the sponsors. But I'm going mainly.
They asked me about you, and I said, VIP, man, VIP.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm going, because they told me. I said, is there going to be? They said there's going to be breakfast and stuff. I said, is it complimentary? And they said, yeah, of course. If you're VIP, I said, I'll be there. I'll be there early. But it's in Long Island. I wanted to ask you a question. Now, I know you're from Queens, right? Born and raised, but you're pretty much more of a Long Island guy, right?
Actually, I was born in Astoria, Queens,
right.
But we moved, I think I was 3 years old or something, out to Long Island. So I've grew up on Long Island in Freeport, Baldwin. That's the two towns I grew up in. I've been living on Long Island forever.
But you have we're a Brooklyn-based band. There's not many. Actually, I don't even really know there's probably only a handful of bands that actually were born and raised in Brooklyn. You know what I mean? There's New York bands, but the three of us were born and raised in Brooklyn, and we have a lot of Brooklyn pride. Every time at the end of our show, I say, "We're ZO2 from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you very much." Do you have that with Long Island? Is there a Long Island pride, Strong Island pride? Does that?
No, there's a budding Strong Island pride. Long Island, yeah, it was not a lot of Long Island pride, and it should be. And it's always it's sort of it's oh, you're outside the suburbs, and no one gives you a lot of respect. But one thing that's been slowly building it, which I really like, and I'm hoping this continues, is the Long Island Music Hall of Fame. That started a few years ago, and they're still trying to get their legs and stuff. And for the past few years, they've been inducting people, and they're getting a location, looks like in Port Jefferson. And because when you start to look at Long Island and the talent that's come out of Long Island, that was born and raised in the suburbs of Long Island, I'll bet you more records have been sold by artists who came from Long Island originally than any other locale, be it New York City, London,
Jersey,
L.A., Seattle. Because I'm talking over time. Because when you look and you see that Neil Diamond and Barbra Streisand,
Billy Joel,
Mariah Carey, Pat Benatar, Cyndi Lauper. The list goes on, and you go back to the 50s, and Lou Reed. People say, Lou Reed, he's from New York City. Oh, no, baby, he ain't. Freeport, Long Island. He may not be proud of it. He may have run screaming from Freeport, Long Island, which because I lived in Freeport too. But that's because there's no cool to being from Long Island.
Right.
Run DMC, the hip hop community. Run DMC.
Run DMC's from Long Island. What? They're from Long Island?
Well, if you go, you understand. Long Island. Look at Long Island is Queens, Nassau, Suffolk. That's Long Island, okay? But Public Enemy, Hempstead, New York. Busta Rhymes was from.
Don't say that.
Roosevelt.
Don't tell me this. That's not cool. Don't tell me. Howard Stern. Oh, my producer just told me Howard Stern's from Long Island. That's right.
So yeah. So so again, it's an unbelievable hotbed of talent. that nobody ever talks about
Right.
because everybody, went, and worked like, Pat Benatar. People hear, oh yeah, she used to be a waitress at Catch a Rising Star. Yeah, that's her thing. Nobody talks about, and she used to go to Lindenhurst High School.
Right.
So,
Well, because they connect. Long Island is almost like brushed under the New York rug. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It seems like it's
it's just not. It doesn't. I'm definitely an advocate of Long Island pride. Strong Island. We always say Strong Island, and I'm hoping that with a museum like the Long Island Music Hall of Fame, if it actually gets up and running, and a kid can walk in there and go, "Holy crap! Look at all these huge, stars that came from here." And it'll make them think, hey, you know what? Maybe it's not such a bad thing up from Long Island. Maybe growing up in the suburbs and being an angry teenager is a good way to launch your creative career.
Well, it's funny because when we talk about Brooklyn and people say, oh, yeah, we're in Brooklyn. All right, here, I'm revealing something that maybe a lot of fans don't know, but David and I grew up in Borough Park, Brooklyn. But for those that don't know what Borough Park is like the Mecca for Hasidic Jews. So we grew up in I'm telling you, we grew up.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's just that, again, Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, Brooklyn. You think of fucking Biohazard and all tattooed up. And that's the funny thing is we were in a building. We were raised in a building that was all Hasidic Jews except for us and one neighbor. And I went to 4 years of yeshiva. And I worked at, with the Hasidic Jews, and we're Jewish, but we were, nothing like them. I mean, we were totally we're not good Jews when it comes to like the practicing of it. And but now I live in Bensonhurst. I've been in Bensonhurst for a while now. And when people ask me, they're like, oh, so where in Brooklyn? I always say, Bensonhurst, baby. Yeah, Vinny Gumbats. Yeah, Tony. I never.
Bay Ridge, Bay 8th Street.
That's right, Bay Ridge, Bensonhurst. I never tell them, what you're going to say, where you from? I'm from Borough Park, bitch.
Well, that was like Run DMC. They were from Queens. But I think they were from Forest Hills.
Right.
They're like their dads were like doctors, and they were like well-to-do. They coming out,
But you can't say that.
See this, it's like, yeah, my dad's a doctor.
Yo, what's up?
Some things ain't cool.
Yeah, well, that's why I don't say it, because I was just like, and then you got to start explaining, because I grew up with them, so it was common practice for me to see a Hasidic Jew walk down, in 100-degree weather with an overcoat and a fur hat. But then
that's metal.
Yeah, those are the true metalheads. And then when my friends, once the first time I ever left the tri-state area, and it's like I realized no one knows what a fucking bialy is or gefilte fish or what payas is, and then I'm like, oh my god, I really grew up in another planet. It's like living with the Amish. And, so I try not to even, I don't want to get into it. So I try not to even explain. So I just say Bensonhurst, and everybody's like, yeah, Saturday Night Fever. And I'm like, yeah, forget about it. So it's automatically cool.
Well, it's bottom line is those kind of areas, growing up in an area like that, or growing up in, death metal. Death metal was born in the gray hair capital of the world, Tampa, Florida. There are more gray hairs per square inch than these old people in Tampa. And where comes death metal? It's a reaction. It's like, get me the fuck out of here.
No, but that makes sense, Dee. That makes sense, because there are people are closer to death in Florida. So, right? Wouldn't that make the most sense?
Well, I don't know, but it's just bizarre. But a lot of times music is reactive, so you can't judge where it's coming from. You say, oh, it's not very romantic or whatever. It's all about how the environment you're in affects you. Right. And obviously, it affected Z-Rock in a very fucked up way.
Hey, you're part of the Z-Rock family, so be careful what you say.
Hey man, I'm not trashing, not at all.
All right.
You guys are a great band.
Thank you.
And great guys with a funny show, and it's great. I'm proud of you. I got to say, because I have to go, because we're starting to film we don't do the 24-hour a day thing like Ozzy did,
right?
And which I've experienced when I did Gone Country, where you're in a house and they got the cameras and the infrared and all that stuff. The only room in those environments that's safe is actually the bathroom, where you're allowed to shit in peace.
Now, I heard they have cameras in the bowl now. You got to be careful.
In the bowl, the bowl cam.
That's what I heard. I heard from
the bowl just to get the crap cam. But anyway, we're going to start filming pretty soon. But I'm really proud of you because I don't know if the Heavy Metal Yoda advised you this, but you are parlaying. You are realizing that that you can't put all your eggs in one basket. Well, you got to be focused and strive for your dreams. You also got to make sure that that you're doing other things. You got the radio thing going. You had the podcast thing, and I think the future of radio is in podcasts. So you are ahead of the curve.
I'm finally ahead of the curve. Oh my God!
You are ahead, as opposed to musically behind the curve. You're like trailing behind.
Right.
No, I believe podcasts, and this is. I'll tell you right now. If Howard Stern is smart economically, his move next will be podcast.
Yeah,
he will make more money. If he takes his 4 million hardcore listeners and makes them and has them subscribe to his podcasts, at whatever they're paying for Sirius $19.95 or whatever they pay a month, we'll do the math. $20 a month, 4 million people, and instead of anybody and just pretty much 100% going into your production company.
Yeah, he's got the fan base.
It is not for Howard. Howard's got an ego thing that he's got to satisfy as well right now. So I think he's going to want to. Sirius hasn't really panned out as far as he's not quite as what's the word, essential as he was. That's a bad word, but you know what I mean. There was a time when,
he was
everybody was 40 million people were tuning into Howard. Now he's got 4 million hardcore people. That's amazing.
Right.
He's making a lot of money, but it's not getting him the attention that he used to get. So I think he'll probably go back to terrestrial.
Well, I
don't have any inside info on that. That's just a guess.
Well, I want you also to know, just so you know, like as far as Yoda and influence and sage advice, you influenced me to not hide the fact that I'm happily married. And I asked you, we talked about this, and I finally said it on my podcast a few episodes ago with Frankie Bella from Anthrax was on, and he asked me point blank, he goes, Paulie, you're married, right? And I was like, humming. I said, what the fuck do I say? And then I said, you know what? And I thought, and your head came out, like popped up, like out of like smoke.
My big head, my big oversized head.
Your big head with your glasses and your ring, your skull ring. And you said, Paulie, my son, tell them the truth. And I said, yes, I am. And I remember, when I see you and Suzette and I just see your career and your success, and I said, look, it's got to be, maybe it's harder, but it's possible to be a rock star, to be a TV star, to be successful and still be a good husband, father, and just an overall good person. I mean, why do I have to be fucked up? Why do I have to be, why can't I be in love? Why can't I be happy and still make good art?
You can be. I had this discussion with. I actually have a list on my desktop, on my computer desktop.
Right.
And I've been keeping of long-time marrieds, people who of long relationships, and nobody ever talks about them. And I was actually interviewing Kevin Bacon because he's been with his wife there like 17 years or something like that. And so I said, people are constantly asking you about, your marriage. He goes, you know what, Dee? He says, I don't think the amount of successful or failed marriages in the entertainment industry is any different than successful or failed marriages in regular, in non-entertainment. He said, but he goes, it's just way more publicized.
Right. And not the successful ones. That's the problem. The successful ones aren't publicized.
Nobody counts the successful ones.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, dude, I've been reading a list. It's crazy. I mean, in our business, Jeff LaBar in Cinderella and John Bon Jovi, Alice Cooper, Dennis Dunaway from Alice Cooper.
Sebastian Bach. Sebastian Bach's been with his girls, from high school.
Yeah, 20, 25 years. Eric Bloom, then there's Bacon, Paul Newman, Mel Brooks, Brad Whitford, Dion of the Belmonts. I talked to Dion. He's the wanderer. She's run around Sue. They've been together since freaking 50s.
Wow.
Okay? Angus Young and his wife, Sting and Trudy, Rudy Sarzo, Ozzy and Sharon, Tom Hanks, Dennis Leary, MC Hammer. No one talks about
Gene and Shannon, even Gene Simmons. He's been with Shannon for how long now?
Yeah, and he talks about his crap. He's not married, whatever. Dude,
he's married.
When you've been with the same person for 20, 25 years or whatever, you're as married as the next guy.
Well, but can you send me this list so I can look at it and just have something to gain inspiration from?
Yeah, a lot of bass players on there too. Geddy Lee's on there.
Yeah, but that's different. Bass players, they don't really have many other options. That's the difference. See,
yeah, tell that to Nikki Sixx.
No, well, he's different. Him and Gene are different, but bass players usually have to, they're smart if they settle. But I'm a lead singer. You know what I'm saying? It's like
I get you. So you can't count bass players. Yeah, okay, I guess.
But that's
so.
a cool
All right,
list.
I'll find some guitar players for you.
That's a nice list. You know what you should do? You should write a book, and I want you to put me on that list. All right.
But you only been a few years, so you
got
to go
a few months.
Years.
Few months.
A few months. Dude, you're not ready for the list yet.
No, but we've been together. We've been together 8 years, though.
Oh, okay.
That's not bad, right?
Yeah,
that's
you know what?
good.
You got. The bottom line is, and I went through a thing where people, they didn't. I got like a negative response to the fact that I wasn't a lifestyler. There are a lot of fans out there that want lifestylers. I used to think they just cared about, what you put on the stage, what you put on the record, and you lived your life. And then I found there's a lot of people out there, they want you to be a complete asshole.
Yeah.
And I discovered that after I went to Washington, and testified, and I was very forthcoming about the type of person I am. And it was kids who were disappointed. And my response was, you know what? Fuck you, you're an idiot. I'm not going to sit there and jump through hoops for you and act like a clown. What am I, a clown? I make you laugh.
What am I here to amuse you?
I'm not going to be Vince Neil. I mean, I look at Vince and, hey, you know what, Vince? I have no problem saying this out loud. I'll say it to Vince. Dude, I don't want your life. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
But it wouldn't be, even if you tried. The problem is, even if I tried, it's not who we are. So it wouldn't be sincere. I mean, if Vince Neil lives that life, or Nikki Sixx, Tommy Lee, I think they're doing that on purpose. That's who they are. That's their life. We can't do that.
I have a little question about that. I've got my question.
Oh well,
about
I don't know. You might know better than me.
Well, I mean, it's all, I mean, it's acting out. I mean, in acting out. I mean, Nikki has a book, The Heroin Diaries.
Right.
You ever know any heroin addicts?
No.
Oh, I have. Not one of them could keep a diary. Oh, he's got. People are drooling and nodding out on the floor. Yet he somehow has total recall and has kept notes. So the Heroin Diaries. I'm just saying.
Captain's log, December 14th, 1983. I'm dying.
What heroin is he on?
He's
dying. On the clarity heroin. This is the heroin that doesn't make you dumb down. It smartens you up. You're like Einstein on heroin.
Well, listen, we're not those guys, and again, that's why I think maybe we get along. And I want to let you go, and I just want to thank you for all the advice and the sageness and the and for being on the podcast. And listen, everybody, please sponsor me for the Bikers for Babies. Come to the event on the 23rd. If you're in town. And, or you can text.
Come down this weekend if you're in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
It's a great show. I Want to Rock Live. It's happening at the Atlantic City Hilton this Saturday night, 8 o'clock. Dee Snider, Lita Ford, Jeff Keith from Tesla, Mark Slaughter from Slaughter, and other surprises. And then, look for Growing Up Twisted on A&E coming in the next few months probably. So watch for that as well.
Will there be a cameo appearance by Paulie Z on that show? Huh? Wink,
it might happen.
Wink, wink.
It might
wink,
happen.
wink.
I don't know about this season, but it might happen.
Season five, maybe.
Yeah, sorry to bite your head off earlier. I'm just certain people knock on the front door of my house, and you get a very different Dee than you meet on the streets.
I'm not.
So don't knock on my front door. It's
not at all.
I answer with a gun, and it gets crazy.
I know. Listen, I love you, and I know deep down you love me, and that's all that matters.
I do, Paul. You're a great guy, and glad to be on the podcast. Let's do it again sometime when the show gets ready to air. We'll do it again.
We will. Thanks so much. All right.
Thanks,
I'll see you next Sunday.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. So there it is. The famous Dee Snider himself, my Yoda. It's funny because he really is even off camera. He was kind of giving me advice, and sometimes you just have a bond with someone, and with Dee, I kind of have it, and the bond is almost like parental, and like a guru, and as you can see, he even yelled at me like a little. Like his son, like the son I don't want to say the son he never had because he has a son, but the goofy son that he never had, the ugly duckling boy that he never had. And well, basically, I mean, I had no idea. I had a bunch of numbers for him, and I didn't know which was which. And we were trying to get him on the line, and I called his house. And but I listen, honestly, I totally understand that because I sometimes people get a hold of my numbers, and actually one time, this is a crazy story, but one time, some fans called my grandmother. They actually searched for my last name in the phone book, and I'm not listed, but my grandmother, when she was alive, she was listed, and she gets a call one day, and she's like, "Hello," and they're like, "Yeah, we're looking for Paulie Z," and then she's like, "What?" And you mean, "Oh, my grandson Paul." Oh, who is this? And she got a little freaked out because she didn't know what to do. They said they were friends of his, and we're trying to reach him, and we lost his number. Anyway, needless to say, she was smart enough not to give out my number, but she called me, and she's like, some girls called, and they were looking for you, and I didn't know what to do. Ay, ay, ay. And I'm like, "Grandma, I'm so sorry. If anyone ever calls you, just don't, just tell them you don't have my number or whatever." But, I mean, that I can understand his point of view because that is scary. I mean, if somebody's calling your house number, it's not someone that you would expect to call, that can throw you off a little bit, But as you can see, I think he was just tense, and I don't think I will be disowned from the extended Snider family. So hopefully that's the case. And anyway, I wanted to say to all the fans out there, I wanted to remind you to please go to that website that I was telling you about, which is bikersforbabies.org/Paulie Z, and help me reach my goal. I have to reach it by next Sunday. Okay. I want to walk in there reaching my goal of $308. It doesn't seem like a lot of money, but $300, on the last minute, with very short notice is still, that's respectable. And if we pass it, we pass it. But please go there and donate. And I'll tweet about this also and remind you guys, okay? And I'm not going to be riding because I don't know how to ride a motorcycle. Actually, I don't even know how to ride a bicycle, believe it or not. But, I'm going to figure something out. Like what I'll probably do is while they're riding, I'm just going to pig out. I'll be eating. And that'll be my contribution. So sponsor me to eat, and I'll see if I can continually eat while they ride from the time they leave to the time they come back. Let me see if I can just keep eating and see how that works out. So obviously I will be off my dairy gluten diet that day, I think, because it's going to be difficult to we'll see what they have, but I have a feeling it's not going to be very friendly to my nutritional needs at a biker event. So anyway, let's see, let's go to some Yo Paulie right now. Let's see. Okay. This one's coming from Sonia. And this says, "I just wanted to ask Paulie to please discuss hanging out with Avenged Sevenfold, my favorite band. I've been wanting Chris Jericho to hook up ZO2 and A7X for months now, and the pig out that happened at 1 a.m. in Little Italy in New York City on the next podcast." Okay, so basically what she's talking about is I had tweeted this, for those that don't know what I'm talking about, I had tweeted this a couple weeks ago when we played with Fozzy at BB King's. Opening for Chris Jericho's band Fozzy. There were a bunch of people at the show. Vinnie Paul from Pantera was there, a couple guys from Anthrax, and that's how actually I hooked up with Joey Belladonna, which Joey's actually going to be on the podcast next week. So stay tuned for that. And basically we hung out. Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater was there. And, which, by the way, ZO2, this is a special announcement. ZO2 just got added to a show in Buffalo, New York on July 5th, opening for Dream Theater. How cool is that? So anyway, that's some exciting news. Oh, excuse me. So where was I? Okay, so we're at the show. So after the show, they all saying, well, we're going to go hang out, whatever. And we wound up in Little Italy at a restaurant. It was 1 a.m, and we're having we're really having dinner at that point. I can't even believe the place was still open. And we're ordering food and we're hanging out, and it's me and Joey and some record executive from Roadrunner was there, and the Bumblefoot from Guns N' Roses was there, and Mike Portnoy and his wife, and Chris Jericho and his wife, and then like 4 guys at the opposite end of the table. Now, I didn't know who these guys were, and I'm like, and obviously they were friends with Portnoy. And about 20 minutes in, I'm just thinking like, wow, this is so rude. Like, we're not really engaging in conversation with them. So I'm like, Mike, why are you being so rude, man? Introduce me to your friends. And I was like, are you guys like in a band or something? You know, because they look like they were. And Mike's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, boy. He's like, well, these are the guys, these are my friends from, they're in a band called Avenged Sevenfold. And I'm like, what? My eyes lit up and my jaw dropped. And I was like, because I'm a fan of Avenged Sevenfold and I have their CDs, but I just didn't know what they look like. So I felt stupid. I was like, duh. That's not just a band. It's like a real band. So I couldn't believe that I was hanging out with them and I didn't even know it. And, of course, I opened my big mouth and I was like, oh, guys, it's great meeting you. And I just want to say, just so you know, I'm not really a big fan of your style, your kind of music, but I like your band a lot. And it was something like that. And Bumblefoot was like, what? Why would you say that? And all of a sudden, everybody's put their head, like their head down in shame. They're like, Paulie, why? Don't talk. And I'm like, what did I say? That's a compliment. Now, I think that's a super compliment because it's basically saying I don't like the music they play is more, I would say, on the aggressive side, like the heavier. It's heavy metal, but it's a little bit, like the real fast drums. Not all the time, but a lot of the time it's very, very aggressive, and there are parts where he's screaming, and I just don't generally listen to that kind of stuff, but they do it very well, and they incorporate a lot of melody and guitar harmonies, and just for whatever reason, I like them. So to me, that's an uber compliment because it's like saying like I'm not generally a fan of rap music, but if I met Eminem or if I met Dr. Dre or Run DMC or like, certain artists I actually enjoy. So I would say I don't like rap, but I like your music I think is great. I think you do a great job. I don't know. For me, I thought it was a compliment, and they thought it was too. They were like, no, we understand what you were saying, but everyone else is giving me shit. And they're like, Paulie, what did you do? You insulted them. You say you don't like their music. I said, no. I didn't like their genre. I don't generally listen to that genre. So anyway, that was like a big debacle for like a half an hour of just going back and forth of whether or not it was a compliment, a super compliment, or like a backhanded compliment. So email me at yopaulie@thepaulieZshow.com and tell me what you think. All right. So let me just explain again. I said, hey, I'm not, let me see. How did I say this? I said, hey guys, I just want you to know, I don't generally listen to your style of music, but I really like you guys. Or I think I said, not you guys, but I think I said, but I like your band, your music. Something like that. You get the gist, okay? So should I have not said anything at all and just do the standard, hey, you guys are great, I'm a big fan, which to me is very boring, or be honest and just say, yeah, I think you guys are great, but even though I'm not a fan of that kind of stuff. Anyway, whatever. We get that a lot too because people at our shows, sometimes they'll come up to us and they're like, wow, you guys are fucking great. And I don't even like rock and roll. I don't listen to rock. I have a lot of times my friends will come with a friend of theirs who listen like to pop music or hip hop, but they enjoyed the show. So to me, I take that as more of a compliment. Maybe that's just me, whatever. You let me know what you think. YoPaulie@thePaulieZshow.com. Anyway, that's my Avenged Sevenfold story. And for those that don't know, unfortunately their drummer just recently passed away, which is very sad. Those guys grew up together, and he was young. They're all young guys, and that's rough for anybody, but especially being in a band, I know what that's like. That's like a brotherhood. And Mike Portnoy is playing the drums on the new record, so that's why they were there, and that's why they were hanging out. But I believe the record is done, and I think you can even check out some of the tracks online. So you should definitely check that out, because obviously Portnoy's a genius on drums, and I think it's going to be an awesome chemistry with those guys. So check that out. Okay, one more. Let's do one more quick email. This is from Emily. Hey, Paulie, Corey Feldman was awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing him again. How did you get hooked up with him? I must join the masses and say that I love it when Joey and Dave are on as well. Well, I'll try to have Dave and Joey on again. I'll try to. I just don't want to do it, too often. I want to keep it more of a special thing. She says, I don't know if your diet is helping relieve your allergy symptoms, but I thought I'd suggest acupuncture if you're open to alternate therapies. I'm not an acupuncturist, but have received several treatments for other reasons and gotten great results pretty much overnight. There are studies out there that support acupuncture as a beneficial treatment for allergy sufferers. I would love to see ZO2 on VH1 Storytellers someday. That would be funny. Us on Storytellers. Okay, so 2 questions. I met Corey Feldman when I went out to LA, and this was a few months ago, and a friend of mine who's a producer and director in the porn industry, wanted to hook up for dinner. We went to the Rainbow Bar and Grill, and me and Benny Boy and a couple other friends of mine met up with him and 3 of his talented girls, and Corey Feldman, because he was friends with Corey. And that's how I met Evan Seinfeld, too, through this guy. And we were just met and started talking, and then we wound up going to see Steel Panther, and me and Evan Seinfeld jumped on stage and sang a song with Steel Panther. And Corey was like, wow, you got a great voice. That's awesome, blah, blah, blah. And, just said, hey, let's exchange numbers. Give me your home number, and I'll call you at home, at 3 a.m, and I'll wake you up, because that's what I like to do. I like to call celebrities at home. That's my thing. I get off on it. And that's, so that's basically how I met Corey Feldman. But yeah, I agree, that was one of the funnier podcasts, I think. He's, until now, though, I have to say, Dee is a great, obviously he's a veteran at this, but he, not everyone knows how to speak and to, the timing of talking on the radio, me being probably the worst at it. But Dee's great because he knows just how much to say. He's got the timing right. He's got the good voice for it. He doesn't have a lot of ums and me, I'm always constantly let's see, So that's hopefully that'll get better with time. But obviously people are enjoying it because I got tons of listeners. So I'm doing something right. All right. So anyway, that's enough of email for now, because I have to leave a few minutes for another story I have, which is my story of hanging out at the Korn concert. And so let me tell you how this happened real quick. Basically, Big J Okerson, also known as Neil on Z-Rock, was asked to do the Korn, to open up for Korn on their mini tour, and then continue with them onto the Mayhem tour, which is coming up this summer. And basically, he does like 5 minutes of comedy in between the bands. And they just did Roseland. And I was trying, he's trying to hook his friends up with tickets. And I'm like, dude, I'd love to go see you and blah, blah, blah. I'm not a huge Korn fan, but I have their records. I'm a fan, but I'm not like, I don't know all the songs. So, but I still wanted to go. And he's like, bro, they're being so, so tight. I have no tickets. I'm so sorry. Let me see what else I can do. And I was like, all right, I'll figure out something. Later on, I get a call. I get a text from him. He's like, you'll never believe this. I was talking to the sound guy for Korn. That's Korn's front of house main sound guy. And he recognized me and he was like, oh, wait, I know where I know you from Z-Rock. And he's like, yeah, you watched the show? He goes, oh, dude, my wife and I love the show. We're super fans. And he goes, are the guys from the band coming? And he goes, well, I invited him, but I have no tickets for them. I can't get him in. He goes, dude, for Z-Rock, don't worry about it. I'll put him on the guest list with passes. I know. He's like, whoa. So basically, I had backstage passes and free tickets, and I wound up going to the show with a couple friends of mine, and we hooked up with Jay Okerson and had a blast. And I was back, and the sound guy was really nice and big fan. And I was backstage right before Korn went on. I got to say hi to Monkey, which is kind of cool. And he was telling me a little bit about the orgy he had the night before, which was funny. And, then they went on. They put on a great show. And afterwards, here's the funny part. So they had the Jägermeister was sponsoring the show. And they had these Jaeger girls, and I listen, I love to flirt. Okay, married or not, I love to flirt. I love women. So, and I like the attention. So I'm like, most of the Korn songs I don't recognize. So the ones I don't recognize, I'm floating around. I'm talking to the Jaeger girls. Well, I wound up making friends with all of them, and I'm talking to them for like hours, and we're talking and chit-chatting and exchanging information, and they're telling me, oh, you know what? You should get it hooked up with the Jägermeister guy. Maybe he could sponsor you guys. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't drink. I don't think they're going to want to sponsor a band that really doesn't drink. She goes, well, you never know. So she introduces me to the guy, and the guy's like, yeah, I'd love to. We take on new bands all day, all the time. Give me information, whatever. I said, okay, I got my iPhone, and I'm like, here, give me your name, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, so you're with Jägermeister. I said, okay, so wait, how do you spell Jägermeister? And the guy looked at me, and he said, first of all, you got to understand, there's Jägermeister posters everywhere. There's like 10,000 Jägermeister posters. It just, it says it on all, all you got to do is like look around, and you'll see it. But he's like, he looks up at me, and he was like half my size too. And he looks up, and he's like, you don't know how to spell, you're asking me how to spell Jägermeister? He goes, that's not a good sign, kid. And I'm like, oh no, my spelling is terrible. I'm sorry. I just, just help me out here. And I realized, I'm like, duh, how do I ask the guy, if I'm looking for sponsorship, I can't even spell the product's name. And then the second stupid question I asked was, I was like, so just out of curiosity, do you only sponsor bands that drink alcohol? And he's like, we're an alcohol company. Yes, we're trying to sell alcohol. What kind of question is that? I was like, no, just out of curiosity. If there was a band that didn't drink necessarily, but we're a good band and funny guys. And anyway, I'll call you. So anyway, so that was me pretty much ruining any chance we have of ever working with Jägermeister. So all right, so that was a Z-List story right there. Hanging out with Korn, hanging out with Avenged Sevenfold, and just living it up, baby. So please go to the bikerbabies.org and sponsor me, okay? Bikersforbabies.org/Paulie Z, and let's get that puppy up to $308. All right, so the bikers could be proud of me. And go to thepauliezshow.com or go to iTunes to get this episode and more. And email me at yopaulie@thepauliezshow.com. Also, you can go to zo2.com and myspace.com/zo2, facebook.com/zo2band. And my Twitter is twitter.com/zo2paulie. And I suggest you sign up for that because that's where I do all my, whenever something's happening, something cool like that, I do it right away. I'll tweet it. So you'll be up to date with real-time information on what the hell I'm up to. Okay, so anyway, Dee, thanks so much for being on the show, and I guess I'll talk to you guys later. Remember, next week, we got Joey Belladonna from Anthrax. That's going to be kick-ass. All right, I'll see you later.